Welcome, everybody. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of HBCU Sports Live. We've got the entire crew with us to preview week one, which officially begins tomorrow with an exciting slate of games starting on Thursday, especially for Thursday. A lot of games on Thursday, and will continue throughout the weekend. He's Jared Hoffman. He's Kendrick Marshall. He's Chris Stevens. And we've got the man, Reggie Flood, who you all probably know better as Big Time. What's up, gentlemen?
I'm good, man. I'm excited for the Waffle House story later on. We're gonna tell.
Yeah, man. We you couldn't wait to
out the gate.
Okay, so
first.
Is it another Atlanta is not a real place story? It's got to be another Atlanta is not a real place story.
Oh, it was definitely real. It was real and raw.
So we're gonna set this up. We're gonna preview some games in Division One, some key games in Division Two, and then we will tell you the real true story of our experience this past weekend in Atlanta after the MEAC SWAC Challenge between Florida A&M and Norfolk State. And Kendrick and Jared and yours truly took a trip to a local Waffle House. And let's just say that, it's nothing mind-boggling, but we think it's a story worth telling. So with that said, let's take a look at the week one slate of games, the games that we pretty much think are games that might be must watch or key games that we think that everyone should mostly pay attention to. And let's get this off of here. So, gentlemen, what games we got? Howard versus Rutgers. We've got Jackson State versus Louisiana Monroe. North Carolina A&T versus Wake Forest. Arkansas State versus Arkansas. Alcorn State versus UAB. South Carolina State versus FAMU. Morgan State versus Hampton. Texas Southern versus Prairie View in the Labor Day Classic, and North Carolina Central versus Alabama State. What games? Anybody feel free to chime in. What games stick out to you first and foremost?
Those last four games for me: South Carolina State, FAMU with Chennisberry taking over at South Carolina State, Morgan State, Hampton because of the former MEAC implications in that game, Texas Southern, Prairie View with the good friends coaching each team, and the North Carolina Central, Alabama State. Just because I think those are the two top teams in each conference.
Yeah,
what about you?
For me, I'm focused on the South Carolina State Florida A&M game. I think that could be one where Florida A&M could lose. I'm basing this off what we saw last week in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. South Carolina State, they have a lot of former Bandit players on their team now who are really good. And I think despite the fact that Chennisberry is going to be a first-year coach in Division I level, I think they could go in the brag and win that game. I don't think they will, but I think it's a possibility just based on the things I just laid out there. But I think everybody should watch that game for a possible upset there.
What's going to be interesting about that South Carolina State game is their front seven, their linemen on both sides are more experienced than Norfolk State's. And we saw Norfolk State pretty much just do what they want to do for about 2.5, 3 quarters in the trenches against Florida A&M. So if Florida A&M hasn't had that trench situation figured out by this Saturday, then yeah, they could get caught slipping. The game for me is Jackson State at Louisiana Monroe. I feel like that's a game that Jackson State could get because ULM they're not a good team. So this is a good chance. Now that we know that Jacoby and Morgan, who of course stepped in last year and half the season threw 10 touchdowns against 1 pick, this is a good chance for him to kind of sort of establish himself as the leader of that Jackson State team. So I feel like this is a game that Jackson State could get. My other pick for game to watch, I really want to see how Arkansas Pine Bluff does against Arkansas because head coach Alonzo Hampton was not pleased that this is the opener off of the rip. And granted, with these guarantee games, you're always going to be the lamb led to the slaughter first. So I want to see how UAPB handles that pressure in Fayetteville, and then get out of there healthy and hopefully salvage whatever's left of their season.
I can tell you how that's going to go. I don't know. I don't know.
I that's not much of a spoiler on paper, But I think the game that I'm looking forward to is Morgan State and Hampton. More so looking at Morgan State, seeing what their offense can do. We've been saying all year that they are an offense away from being a contender. We know what their defense can do. They have two guys in Elijah Williams and Eric Hunter, who are two extraordinary players on their defensive the defensive side of the ball that will get some looks from the NFL in the next year, if not the USFL. So I think that Morgan State, seeing how their offense comes out, with J.J. Davis and Tosh Smith as starting at quarterback, I'm curious to see how they work together. Of course, South Carolina State and Florida A&M, that South Carolina State is a sleeper team to me. I'm curious to see how they match up against Florida A&M. But Texas Southern and Prairie View A&M, Prairie View, obviously most will say they were disrespected being picked to finish second in the SWAC West. I think they will come out and make a statement against a Texas Southern team that they are going to beat. Let's just be honest, they're going to beat them. But I'm curious to see if they make it clear, like it's not even close. Because last year they were a little too close for comfort. I'm looking for them to make a statement against Texas Southern and get this game over with quick and painless.
I agree. I think Prairie View's going to beat the brakes off of Texas Southern. Honestly, I know it's a rivalry game in theory, but it's obvious to me that Prairie View is a much better team than Texas Southern. And I don't see Texas Southern being competitive in this game. I agree with you on that one, yeah. But gentlemen, let me tell you, the South Carolina State, Florida A&M game, I'm interested to see Chennis Berry in his offensive line versus Florida A&M after what I saw Norfolk State was able to do with Florida A&M running the ball. I can tell you Chennis Berry's offensive line is going to be way better than Norfolk State's offensive line, and they are going to pound the rock. So I'm interested to see what improvements, fam, you make from week 1 to week 2, because they say that's when you make your biggest improvements. That's why I'm so interested in this game. Because of that, and I'm interested to see what kind of South Carolina has a tradition of being a tough team, and I know Chennis Berry is brought into that. I want to see if he brings back that mentality to South Carolina and turn on the defensive side of the ball, because that's what they've been known for.
Yeah, and I'm looking on the defensive side of the ball as well for South Carolina State, specifically with Jaden Brockton. Jaden Brockton had an incredible season last year with Benedict, had over 20 tackles for loss, 10 sacks. Dedrick Starks is also coming from Benedict over to South Carolina State. I'm curious to see how they transition. A lot of guys aren't giving South Carolina State the respect that they deserve because most of their guys are coming from the Division II, but that was not an ordinary Division II team. They had not lost a regular season game since 2021. So this is not a team that was just, winning, and they like an ordinary team. They were clearing teams, and it wasn't even close. There was very few one-score games that they had. So I'm curious to see how Jaden Brockton and Dedrick Starks, and even on the offensive side, DeAndre Duhart, who is coming from Benedict, who is a running back. I'm curious to see how he transitions to the Division I level. So I absolutely agree with you on that.
Yeah, I see that's a red flag, the transfers coming in from Benedict to South Carolina State. That's a red flag for me because in my experience looking at that, they hadn't transitioned well from D2 to FCS. So that's something I'll be looking at in that game to see how well they do. But I'm also going to be looking at how Coach Berry, and I'll say this. You know how you say no disrespect intended, so that means you're about to say something disrespectful. Coach Berry is from the Coach Odom's coaching tree, and neither one of them have shown that they coach well in big games.
Ooh.
So I'm interested to see how we saw Coach Odom's last week, who crapped the bed in a big game again. And now we're going to see what I've seen Coach Barry in the playoffs with Benedict. I actually see that was a dominant team and got in the playoffs and got their asses handed to them. So
Right.
I'm interested to see how they do in a big game situation with South Carolina State against FAMU. No disrespect.
I'm surprised nobody said yet the Orange Blossom Classic. That's supposed to be the battle.
I mean, that's
#1.
self-explanatory. That's self-explanatory. That's a Celebration Bowl preview. We all know that. North Carolina Central, but
Do we know that? Do we know that? I'm not sure we know that.
Do we know what?
that is a preview. We a potential preview. We're not saying that it's going to be definitively that it is the preview of that game, but we know that they're both the favorites in their respective conferences.
You know what? I personally see it more as a week 2 of a MEAC-SWAC challenge, as opposed to a possible preview of the Celebration Bowl. Both teams were pretty much picked to finish either first or, in the case of Alabama State, finished to pick first in SWAC East. I think that game is probably kind of like a second iteration of the MEAC-SWAC challenge from last week. So I actually am somewhat intrigued by that, because I'm gonna just be honest with you. There's a part of me, and I say this respectfully, I'm gonna take the Reggie Flood route. Part of me still wonders if Eddie Robinson Jr. is still that guy. I mean, we've seen some progress. Don't get me wrong, and given the given what was said about him when Alabama State first selected him to become the head coach, a guy who hadn't had any previous head coaching experience at the college level, it is somewhat miraculous to kind of see him in this position. And he has, without question, made progress. I just wonder if this is the year that he can get Alabama State over the hump. There's a part of me that still isn't convinced, but the games haven't been played yet. I just have to wonder if he's really the guy that can get him over the hump.
I mean, can the SWAC coaches and SIDs think he is?
I'm not dismissing. Look, I don't have a problem with them making the selection. I'm just saying,
I mean, on paper they are, but the fact is, this is going to be a proving ground for him from the very beginning. Because one thing, Trey Oliver's going to coach his butt off.
Right.
He's going to coach his ass off. He's going to have his team prepared. They're going to be fast. They're physical. They're going to get to the ball. So if this is a test right off the bat, the Alabama State that I saw last year was a very okay team.
Yeah. Right.
I'm wondering what the key to this. I wonder if this guy is healthy and if he can make a difference. The key to it is going to be Andrew Body.
Yeah.
If Body is healthy and the Body that we have known him to be, Andrew Body that we have known him to be, you're going to see. I think it'll be a big difference in Alabama State. But as you say, we still don't know if Coach Eddie Robinson Jr., no relation.
Right.
No relation, is the guy for Alabama State. Everything on paper says that this Alabama State team should be really, really good, and this should be a really, really good game. I think they will be fine defensively, but I think Andrew Body is going to be the difference in this game, because they were a horrible offensive team last year.
Right. So that's that. So to that point, Flair, that's why I say I want to be careful. I'm not saying that Eddie Robinson Jr. isn't the guy. Yeah. I just want to be clear in saying that. I'm not saying that he's not the guy.
He hadn't proven that he is the guy yet.
Right. But if you look at what he's done each year with that program, there has been some progress. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not dismissing what he's done, but for him to be selected, for him in this squad to be selected the team to win the SWAC East, I'm just saying, given the teams that, FAMU, I think there's something still to be said about Jackson State. I just wonder, those are going to be the two games that, as far as the SWAC East is concerned, Alabama State versus FAMU, Alabama State versus Jackson State, those are going to be two key games that will have SWAC East implications when they play. So, we're not there yet, but I'm just simply saying that this game for Eddie Robinson Jr. against North Carolina Central, who was coached by Trey Oliver, will be a good measuring stick as to what we could possibly expect from his program going forward.
Excellent measuring stick.
Yeah, I don't think that's, I don't think that's wrong in any respects. I mean, You got to look at it this way. First year under Eddie Robinson Jr., they were 6-5. They finished third in the SWAC East. Last year they were 7-4, finished tied for second with Jackson State. You got to figure, the natural ascension of things means that they do go ahead and pick this up and win the SWAC East. But again, Trey Oliver, that North Carolina Central team, once again, has a lot to prove. Yes, they made the FCS playoffs last year, but they were, dead set on repeating as Celebration Bowl champions. And then they made that trip to Howard, and then they got snuck behind the Georgia Avenue McDonald's, and that was the end of the line. So now you've got to figure out that this team is good and ticked off, even though they've lost a lot to graduation in the transfer portal. So this is Eddie Rob. I don't want to say this is his best chance to prove that he's the guy, but it is definitely one of the most important chances he will have in 2024.
And I'm looking at the other side of the spectrum personally. I'm looking at North Carolina Central and Walker Harris. I'm wondering if Walker Harris is a championship caliber quarterback. With the only time we saw him as a starter was against Mississippi Valley State. And Mississippi Valley State is not Bama State. This Bama State defense is legit. They have stars from top to bottom. So Walker Harris could not have picked a better first test for his abilities as a starting quarterback than that Alabama State defense. If he performs well, then I don't think North Carolina Central has many other problems other than Morgan State later in the year, personally.
I think the score is going to be 5-3 North Carolina.
5-3.
5-3.
A field goal and a safety.
A couple of field goals and a safety, and I think they get out of there.
It's going to be a pitcher's duel.
Block one out of the end zone is going to decide it.
A baseball game on the football field.
Two doubles, a score run after a walk. And then
hey, I mean, we laughing and all, but like the Orange Blossom Classic between JSU and FAMU,
yeah, that was
2 years ago was 6-3.
It was 6-3.
Yeah.
No, it was 7-6.
7-6.
Yeah,
7-6. Yeah.
Same difference.
Yeah.
They went to their bullpens a little early in that one.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just like I have high expectations for this game defensively. Both of them I think are offensively challenged, and that's why I think Andrew Body is the kind of player that can make or break a coach. He can make you look like a genius by getting you out of plays that are bad plays, or he can make you look like a complete fool if he's not playing well. So I think Andrew Body, to me, I look at him a lot like Devontae Kincaid. In the type of play that they are. Not saying he's on the level of Kincaid. Well, that could be some debate, but right. the type of player that they are, I think that he's a little bit better passer than Kincaid. But if you really look at it, Ben Anderson and Devontae Kincaid really led their teams to SWAC championships, basically on their ability to be dual threats and get coaches out of bad plays. I mean, hell, they made people think Eric Dooley was a damn offensive genius. I mean, you see, it's what it is. Y'all saw that coming a mile away, didn't you? Saw that coming around the bend.
that John was on the tee.
Y'all saw that one coming around the bend. I couldn't help that.
I'll be curious to know what you're going to think about Terrence Graves in like 3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say because with respect to the games that we see on the slate, there's still some key games of interest in that. Terrence Graves will be making his, I can't say his debut, but his debut as permanent coach of Southern, and they open the season against McNeese State Saturday night at 7. So who better to speak about this than Reggie? So what do you say, Flood, about what we can expect from Southern when they play McNeese on Saturday?
Once again, it comes down to quarterback play. If the former Grambling Tiger and now Southern University Jaguar Noah Biden plays well and protects the football, Southern has a good chance of winning the game. I tell you, they're deep on defense. I think Southern's going to be a surprise team in the SWAC. And, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Southern guy. I think they may surprise some people, in particular on the defensive side of the ball. They are long and rangy in the defensive backfield. They've been able to do well with on defense, the defensive line. They have some experienced linebackers coming back, so the defense I think is going to play well. The offensive line is going to be the question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't care what you have going on offense. I mean, on defense, if your offensive line can't keep the quarterback upright and can't block, then it doesn't make for a good season, and that's going to be the key. In terms of Coach Graves himself, I think that he'll have those guys. They're disciplined, way more disciplined than I've seen them in the last 3 or 4 years. But then the bar was set so damn low for discipline. So, you know, I mean, if y'all had seen the stuff that I saw, then you would understand why like the bar was so low in terms of discipline. It was basically buried underground like a cable wire. So I mean, that's how low the bar. yeah. So that's how low the discipline bar was. So, but he has really brought about some discipline, more discipline to the program. Offensive line is going to be the key. If they can come together and get an offensive line, get some continuity on the offensive line, I think they'll be pretty good against McNeese. So, you know, this is going to be a long-term project to see how Coach Graves does. I just wonder if the fans are going to have the patience with him. He has some tough tests coming up. He opens up with McNeese, Savannah State, Jackson State, Nicholls State. Savannah, yeah, but Jackson State and Nicholls, those some tough tests all early on in the season.
So, Flood, did you get a chance to see McNeese State when they played Tarleton last week? They opened up. Okay, well, so I mean, anything? I mean, they played Tarleton pretty tight for a team that I guess Tarleton was ranked started the season ranked top 20, top 25 to open the season. But any concerns?
Was top 25. What I saw, McNeese was basically getting their asses handed to them, and then they finally fought back. The one thing that was encouraging to me as a Southern person is the quarterback for McNeese. He's basically a SWAT guy. He was a guy who was once committed to Southern, ended up at a bunch of other schools. I think left Temple, went to Montana State, led Montana State to the FCS championship game, if I remember correctly. But he's not a guy. I feel like with Southern's depth on the defensive line, that they can keep him in check. Now I may be wrong. I may turn out to be a complete fool about that. He may come out against Southern and run for 400 and throw for 200, or throw for 400 and run for 2. I don't know. But I think that's going to be the key to beating McNeese. If you keep him in check, then I think you beat McNeese, because I don't think McNeese's defense is necessarily is the strong suit of their team.
Okay.
We'll see. Big test early on for Coach Graves, and a big test for the fan base. I think the fan base is really they're not skeptical. They're just really taking a wait and see attitude. I think they got burned by Coach Dooley, and they like what they've seen from Coach Graves, but they're not ready to jump on the bandwagon yet. They're gonna if he would. Now I'll tell you, if he beats McNeese, oh man, you better look out. If he beats McNeese, you better look out, because you will not be able to get on social media on Saturday night if they beat McNeese.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty interesting. Grambling opens the season against Louisiana, and you know they're playing up against an FBS team. I guess you can pretty much say this team is kind of since Mickey Joseph took over, there's been an overhaul. And like you, Flood, I'm cautiously optimistic about what Joseph is going to do this season. From the reports that I've received from folks who pretty much have been following the program from the day he got in, The offensive line, which was problematic last year with penalties with one particular person I will not mention, but I believe he's transferred. The offensive line has been completely has been an overhaul, in which I'm told that not only are they talented, but there's actually a certain degree of depth on the offensive line. Special teams, they've got a special teams a place kicker who transferred from Alabama. I hear is a guy who they think will actually be a difference maker in situations related to special teams. Running back, I'll admit I was concerned about the running back position when Chalk and I can't think of the other guy who left. Chalk is at San Jose State, and the other brother, what's his name?
Washington.
The one that the brother from Scotlandville.
Yeah, I forget his name too.
He's with I believe with Cincinnati right now, and so I had some concerns with that. But Bull Hargrove has come in. Jordan Johnson are guys who I'm told will be good at running back. So, like I said, I haven't had a chance to see them. I didn't get a chance to go to the Black and Gold game, but I don't know if I guess the game Saturday would be somewhat of a measuring stick, even though they're playing up. But they after that they've got Louisiana, then they've got Tuskegee, and then of course the third game I believe is Jackson State. So we'll see how that all. No, they've got Texas A&M Commerce after that. So and that game will be right up the road from where I am. So I'm actually looking forward to that, and I think that'll be a key FBS game. That would be a good measuring stick as to what we can expect from Grambling this year. But like you, Flood, I think the SWAC West, even though folks are going with Alcorn State, I think that Grambling's going to be in the mix, Southern to be in the mix, Alcorn State, obviously, that's going to be a situation, and you can't dismiss Prairie View. UAPB could possibly be, maybe could play spoiler alert in certain situations, and I don't want to talk bad about Texas Southern, but we don't necessarily expect a whole lot from them. But with respect to just simply saying that Alcorn, who was picked to finish first in the West, I don't know if we can just absolutely say with an absolute level of certainty that they will actually win the West. So I'm looking forward to this weekend, especially with the matchups on the slate at Division I, with Division I slate. So
Ken, I got a question for you, Ken.
Yeah.
What do you make of Mickey Joseph repeatedly saying that his team needed structure? Was he taking a shot at the previous administration and Hugh Jackson, or he was just talking about?
No.
Yes, he was.
Well, hold on. I'm just saying. I don't know if he was okay. I don't know if he was taking a shot at the coach, but keep in mind he did inherit some players, and my understanding was like the very first day of camp. It was like he immediately made it known, like, we're gonna do some things differently this time. It's like little subtle things, and so Flood, I don't know, man. I'm not gonna sit up here and say that he was taking a shot at.
I will. Yes, he was. Yes.
But look,
but he brought on a coach. He brought on an assistant, but he is the assistant.
Well, right, but for what it's worth, well, I mean, look, Grambling was literally one of the most penalized teams in all of SCS last year.
Yes.
So just by default, he would be justified in making that comment. So whether it's about the coach or whether it's just about what the overall mentality or philosophy of the team was last year, I mean, he's justified in making a comment in what he said with respect to being disciplined.
I think that Coach Mickey Joseph definitely came into Grambling, and just from the scuttlebutt that I was hearing, because he's a New Orleans guy,
right?
And, I always tease him. He went from being the third best player to ever come out of the city of New Orleans by the top 100 ranking of the time Picayune to the 107th. The 107th best player to ever come out of New Orleans, just because he took the Grambling job. He dropped from number 3 to number 7, 107. Now he's my guy. Mickey is a good guy, but I look at his intentions at Grambling. I think Mickey may be exactly what Grambling needs at this time. A guy who has been places and experienced things. He's coming into a program that needs the kind of discipline and improvement and they have a standard that they've set. So I think Mickey, he understands what he's entering. So I think Mickey may be the perfect guy for that job. Him bringing in a bunch of guys that he knew, because he has 2 of his offensive and defensive coordinator are guys who I've seen up close and personal as head coaches. And another one of those no disrespect statements. I think those guys, I think they're pretty good. I'm hopeful that they will be better assistants than they were head coaches.
I hear you.
Because neither one of them are disciplinarians. Like
right.
Those guys, so if Mickey's going to be the disciplinarian, I think those coaches will be where he starts. And I think the discipline will trickle down from the coaching staff.
Great point. Before we move on to the Division II games, for those of you who are currently watching, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, but also do know that you have the opportunity now to become a level 1, a level 2, a level 3 member of becoming a member of HBCU Sports for as little as $4.99 a month. You will get some additional perks. We will take the time to acknowledge you and even make you privy to not only some inside information that we might share, but also some additional special content that you will be privy to as well. So take a moment, join, and also hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so let's pull up the Division II slate of games that are scheduled for Saturday. And we've got Virginia Union versus Kentucky State, Edward Waters versus Morehouse, Winston-Salem State versus Bluefield State, Benedict versus Virginia State, and Tuskegee versus Johnson C. Smith. And so because Jared Hoffman is our Division II expert, Jared, what should we look for in this slate of games in Division I? Division II.
Well, just to talk about these games, Virginia Union versus Kentucky State. Felton Huggins for Kentucky State, the head coach of Kentucky State, is entering his 2nd season with that team. Looking to see some improvement from them. Had a losing record last year. Got a really tough first draw in the CIAA champion Virginia Union Panthers, and they're feeling disrespected. They were picked to finish 2nd in the CIAA this season. So they are going to have a motivated Virginia Union squad on their hands, especially a team that is competing against Virginia State in that CIAA North. So tough draw for Kentucky State for sure. Edward Waters and Morehouse. Edward Waters going to dog walk them. No need to talk about that. Winston-Salem State. And
State. Show the slate, Kendrick. Show the slate, Kendrick.
Winston-Salem State and Bluefield State. Winston-Salem State, they have Jalen Norris, who was a transfer for Bluefield State. So that's going to be a bit of a homecoming for him. I think he's going to be a very good addition for them. He was a very underrated player for them last year. Winston-Salem State, they have Isaiah Teal, I believe is his name, the quarterback for Winston-Salem State. I think he's going to have a big year this year. Apologies if that's the wrong name. I'm probably thinking of somebody else. But I expect Winston-Salem State to be much better than they have been in years past, and they could potentially test Johnson C. Smith. We'll get to them in a second, and Fayetteville State for the CIAA South title. Benedict and Virginia State. Virginia State, they won their first 7 games last year, looked as dominant as any team in Division II, and then they fell off a cliff, losing to Elizabeth City State, a game they should have won, and then they lost in Virginia Union to completely knock them out of the CIAA championship race. So they're fighting against those expectations. They have Henry Fraser in, I believe, his 3rd season there. And Benedict obviously is trying to rebuild what was lost in the offseason. Obviously, you're entering in Ron Dickinson in place of Chennis Berry. You have a completely different unit here, but there's a lot of guys who were sitting on the sidelines who will now get the opportunity to play. And Chennis Berry has spoke in depth about the amount of talent that he has on his roster and the amount of guys that he could play and they could still be effective. So this is not a Benedict team that believes that they are rebuilding. This is a Benedict team that still believes that they are competitive and they can win a third straight SIAC title. And what better way to test their abilities than against a Virginia State team that many are picking to win a CIAA this year. And then we have Tuskegee and Johnson C. Smith. Johnson C. Smith were one of the most improved teams of Division II football last year. They went from 2-7 in 2022 to 7-4 in 2023, had their best record in a season in about 10 years. Their defense was the star of the show, led by linebacker Bernard Black. And I think that they're going to be just as good this season. I went out on a limb and said that Johnson C. Smith is going to end Fayetteville State's streak of 6 straight CIAA titles, but they another team that has a tough first draw in Tuskegee. Tuskegee is, we all know about Tuskegee's reputation. They are a Division II powerhouse, and they had another great season last year. I believe they were 7-4. They finished just short of clinching a berth in the SIAC championship game, lost to Miles in the final week of the year. So they are in a loaded SIAC championship race. So it behoove them to get out quickly and get a win in this one. And a game that's not on here that I'm looking forward to is Clark Atlanta and Fort Valley State. Clark Atlanta is a team that has not been good in a while. They haven't won in almost 2 years now, but they have a completely new group in there. They welcomed in Teddy Keaton as their head coach, who was the head coach of Allen and led Allen to a 7-3 record last year. And he brings along with him David Wright, the reigning SIAC Player of the Year. He had an incredible season for Allen, and I think that Clark Atlanta is going to be much better than we have seen them in years past. It's going to be a completely different team. But the question is, can they compete in the SIAC? And who better to test that question out than Fort Valley State, another team that was entrenched in that SIAC championship race. They finished that season, I believe, 8-3 last year, won the inaugural Florida Beach Bowl against Johnson C. Smith. Is a team that just continues to crank out offensive stars, particularly at the running back position. Before it was Emmanuel Wilson, who is now on the 53-man roster for the Green Bay Packers. And now they have Brandon Marshall, who I expect big things out of. Kelvin Durham is still there somehow. You'd think he was too old to still be there, but now he's still there. So I expect him to have another big season for them. And Fort Valley State will be another team that will be entrenched in that SIAC championship race. Can't think of all the other games off the top of my head, but those are the ones that really stick out to me. If I was to say a game that I am most excited for, I'd probably say Tuskegee and Johnson C. Smith, because I'm looking to see if this was fool's gold for Johnson C. Smith, or if they really are a team that can win the CIAA South. I don't think it was fool's gold. I think they have the talent on the defensive end, and they can win the CIAA South this year and potentially lose to either Virginia State or Virginia Union in the CIAA championship game. But I need to see it. And I think that there's no better team to test that theory out against them for them than against Tuskegee. So my pick for the game, the biggest game to watch, is Tuskegee and Johnson Smith.
Yeah. So are you saying for Morehouse that J.D. Washington isn't walking through those doors anytime soon?
Listen, he can walk through that door. It ain't going to change, not a bit. I'm sorry, but Morehouse, they got some ways to go. They have some ways to go. They are at a talent deficit. They're in a conference that continues to ascend while they are staying in place, which is already at the bottom. So I think they have a lot of work to do before they're in that conversation with the Benedicts, with the Fort Valley States and Tuskegees for the top teams in the SIAC. I keep saying the divisions, and I know that there's no more divisions in the CIAA. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that was it.
Kentucky State. Kentucky State is interesting because Felton Huggins is a Louisiana guy. He's from the Baton Rouge area. he's recruited heavy in the portal with a lot of Louisiana guys and brought them out to Kentucky State. I'm interested to see what happens with them and if he improves that program, because I can think right now of about 5 or 6 kids or young men that he's brought out there with Louisiana ties. A couple of 2 or 3 of them are from Texas, but they're originally from Louisiana, and that he's brought out there that are guys I know that can play. So I'm interested to see how that improves that program at Kentucky State.
I think the thing about Kentucky State that I really like that Felton Huggins did is that he brought some diversity to that offense. You know, anybody who has watched Kentucky State, we know everything they're going to do is going to be a design run. Everything was a design run before Felton Huggins got there. He comes in, he brings in, I forget who the quarterback's name is now, but they bring in a quarterback who can actually sling the ball, and they input some passes into that offense. That's why a lot of our teams haven't done well in the Division II playoffs, because we have a lot of one-dimensional offenses. We have a lot of great run offenses, but when you're going up against these Division II powerhouse teams in the Division II playoffs, you have to have some balance to your team. So I really like that, what Felton Huggins has done with bringing some diversity into that offense. The question is, can they be good enough to be a contender? They're in a loaded SIAC conference, so it's a big ask for him to have them in contention in his second season, but I think they're moving in the right direction for sure.
Do you think he brought in some thoroughbreds?
Well played. Well played.
Okay, so I guess that brings us. First of all, are we done?
Yeah, we didn't pick any of the games though.
Oh, you need to pick. Okay, so I'll let you handle that.
In the words of Birdman, as we finish it, is we done.
Put some respect on it.
Well, respect on my name.
So we going back to the Division I. We're going to pick the slate of games that you selected, Kendrick.
Yes, we can run through them right quick.
All right. So here we are, Kendrick. You really put Howard versus Rutgers?
Hey man, defending me, champs, man. We got to see what they made of against Rutgers in the expanded Big Ten.
Okay. Well, obviously, I'm going for Howard, but I'm gonna pick Rutgers. Jackson State versus Louisiana Monroe.
Jackson State.
I'm gonna pick Jackson State in the upset. North Carolina A&T and Wake Forest. I'm going with Wake Forest. UAP. How did you pick these games? UAPB and Arkansas. I'm picking Arkansas.
Wait a minute now. No, man. I'm gonna cut your mic off on that one.
What? This is your.
He get a 10.
He really did cut his mic off. That's crazy.
He get a 10-second mute.
Kendrick think he Tony Reali now.
Yeah,
we're around the horn.
You picked these games.
And
but I'm saying
just pick the games, man.
Okay, but I'm just saying it's not okay. It's not difficult.
I'm just saying.
Alcorn State and UAB. Okay, I pick UAB. I'm going for Alcorn State. I pick UAB. South Carolina State and FAMU. I'm going with the hype, man. I'm going with South Carolina State. I'm going with South Carolina State. Morgan State and Hampton. I think Morgan State's real. I'm going with Morgan State. Texas Southern Prairie View. I'm going with PV. North Carolina Central and Alabama State. I don't know, man. I got to go with Central. I something in me just kind of refuses to go against Trey Oliver, man. The brother's got a demeanor. I go with Central. So those are my picks.
Thank you, Kim Rashad, for being a professional for once.
Wow. We gonna talk after the show's over with. Now, go ahead, man.
No disrespect intended, huh, Kendrick?
I know, right? Yeah.
No disrespect.
Who's next?
I'll go. As badly as I want to pick Howard, we don't know who their quarterback is going to be. And as the late great John Madden said, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have none. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Rutgers in that one. I also am going to pick Jackson State to beat Louisiana Monroe. North Carolina A&T, Wake Forest. I mean, Wake Forest is kind of like, I mean, they don't put no fear in my heart, but A&T has a lot to work on, so I'll pick Wake Forest. Pine Bluff, just get out of there healthy. That's all I got for you. I'll go ahead and say UAB over Alcorn. It's going to be closer. I did pick Florida A&M in my official weekly predictions. You guys can check that out on HBCUsports.com when you have a minute. But I'm starting to feel like maybe South Carolina State can pull this off. But I'm going to stick with the Rattlers. Morgan State, I like their team a lot. If Todd Smith can come out and play quarterback the way that they expect him to play, then I feel like that Morgan team is going to have something to say about that MEAC race. I like Prairie View over Texas Southern as well. And I also like Central over Alabama State because Trey Oliver, again, he just has like he's probably the most charismatic coach we have in black college football. He just has this weird, I don't want to say weird. I mean, just this swag about him that just like gives off, this energy of you can't beat us, even though Howard would have something to say about that. But yeah, I like Central this week as well.
All right, Jared Hoffman.
Howard versus Rutgers. Give me Rutgers. Jackson State versus Louisiana Monroe. I will also go with Jackson State. North Carolina A&T and Wake Forest. I will go with Wake Forest. Arkansas Pine Bluff and Arkansas. Again, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Just come out of there healthy, and you're a big winner.
Yes.
Alcorn State and UAB. I will go with UAB. South Carolina State and Florida A&M. I really want to go with the upset of South Carolina State. I just want to throw it in everybody's faces that Division II talent is good enough to be good to play at any level.
Ooh.
But I think that Florida A&M is going to win that game. Morgan State and Hampton. I think that Morgan State has found their quarterback in Taj Smith, and he will have a big game, and that defense is going to absolutely shut down Hampton. I got Morgan State winning that game. Texas Southern and Prairie View A&M. If Prairie View A&M lets this game get close, I don't like their chances, but I don't think they'll let it get close. I think Prairie View gets it over with quick and painless early, and they coast the rest of the way. And North Carolina Central and Bama State. I think that Bama State defense is tough on Walker Harris in his first game of the year, especially since there's a lot of questions surrounding his receiving core with E.J. Hicks and Devin Smith both gone. So I'm going to go with Bama State. I think that Andrew Body hopefully plays well. I hope he plays well, but I think that defense covers him up if he doesn't play well, and I think Bama State comes away with the win in that one.
Me, I guess it's my turn, huh?
Next.
All
your
right.
turn, Reggie.
Howard versus Rutgers. Man, Howard, I would like to pick you, but you guys, even though you're the defending MEAC champs and you backdoored your way into the championship, your athletic program should be the most dominant program in HBCU sports. If you are going to be the Mecca, then be the freaking Mecca in everything. Every 10 years of being competitive should not make you the Mecca. Okay? Howard, get it together. You have all of that money, the big ass endowment. You got the woman who's about to be the president of the United States. Get it together. This should not be a game that I should have to call for Rutgers. But I'm picking Rutgers in this game. Jackson State, Louisiana Monroe. I'm going with Louisiana Monroe because I just don't believe in Jackson State.
You going with General Booty?
I'm going with General Booty.
Don't even sound right, man.
To kick some tiger booty.
That's his real name, by the way. That's his real name.
General Booty is coming to kick some tiger booty. I'm just saying.
Lord have mercy.
Yes, I don't know what Abram and Josh and all of them were thinking about. They have totally normal names. He just decides to pull General Booty out of his ass to name his son.
Reggie used booty and ass in the same sentence.
You like that? Huh? You like that, huh? Yes. I just don't understand that, but hey, that's what they do. I'm sure they're probably Trump supporters too. So they're probably MAGA, so that explains a whole lot of things. Oh boy! I'll carry on now. South Carolina State and Wake Forest. North Carolina A&T and Wake Forest. North Carolina A&T, another team. You used to be so beautiful. Remember when you played in the HBCU conference? Remember when you played in the HBCU conference and you had coaches like Rod Broadway? You used to be so beautiful. We could count on you every year when you played in the MEAC to go up there and get you a Division I win, beat you a MACtion team, beat a team out of the MAC or somewhere. We could count on you. Now you want to go play. Oh, we have to prove ourselves that we can play outside of the HBCU. That's what you were doing when you were going to beat those Division I schools when you were HBCU conference.
Hello.
Now you go play over there in whatever conference that is. I don't even know what the name of it is. I know what it is, but I'm not going to call it. But you go over there and play in one of those other Confederate conferences, and now you're going 1-10.
I knew it was coming. I knew the Confederate conferences. Look, that is
It's
a
the
Reggie
coastal now,
Flood
not
signature statement. The
coastal now.
Confederate conferences. I knew it was coming. Go ahead, Reggie. I'm sorry.
You go over there, and now you're coming out 1-10, and your fan base is looking crazy. Just looking absolutely crazy. Put the list back up. I need to see the list. Put the list back up, Kendrick. And so A&T, they're going to lose to Wake Forest, and we know that. Okay, that's done. Pine Bluff and Arkansas, man, get y'all some good turkey, smoked turkey wing, dirt legs when you're up there, because you know Tyson Chicken is up there. So get you some good smoked turkey legs. Enjoy what it is. Don't get hurt. Get your money and come on back home. Alcorn, UAB. Trent Dilfer is the coach at UAB. It is hard for me to freaking pick UAB over Alcorn, just on the fact that they hired Trent Dilfer. But, alas, I must go with UAB over Alcorn, as much as it pains me to do so, just because they hired freaking Trent Dilfer. South Carolina State and Florida A&M. While I think South Carolina State will be a much improved team, Florida A&M is going to beat the brakes off of them.
You think so?
Anybody off the Odom's coaching tree in a big game, I cannot go with them.
Hey, man, you can't talk about my friend Dawson Odoms.
Anybody off the coach Dawson Odom's coaching tree in a big game, I cannot go with them. I have to roll with Florida A&M. They say teams improve the best from game 1 to game 2. South Carolina State will put up a fight, but Florida A&M are going to beat the brakes off of them.
They're going to put up a fight, but they're going to get the beast break now. It'll start off tight early on, right?
It'll start off tight early on, and then FAMU is
just
going
gradually
to
go away.
Because they're going to do things in that game. I promise you, South Carolina State is going to do some things that will leave you scratching your head in that game. I can guarantee you that it's going to happen, my friend. Morgan State, Hampton. Why do we respect Hampton?
Hey, I ain't got nothing to say about Hampton. I got in trouble.
I'm sorry.
My mama went there.
Jared's mom went to Hampton.
Jared's mom went to Hampton.
Mama, we love you. We love you. My boy Eddie Francis, who I'm sure he's looking in.
Yeah, no, Eddie Francis, right. Yeah.
Mama, we love you. And no disrespect intended. Because the Hampton that you went to,
right,
Hampton Institute,
ain't
is
the
not
same.
what this is now. The Hampton that you went to, Mama, what is it? The by the sea. What's the by the sea? What is it? What's the slogan?
Ask my mom. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
The home by the sea.
The sea, yeah.
Home by the
right.
sea. The home by the sea no longer exists. It's just a place that sits on the bay now. It's a beautiful place on the bay. The home by the sea does no longer exist. Hampton University in this iteration of it is terrible. They are terrible, and they are another one of those schools who want to go play in the Confederate Conference. You had a beautiful thing. Division II HBCU, you were a powerhouse. I'll never forget Hampton came to Southern when they were making the transition, came to Baton Rouge one year, brought a great fan base, brought a great band. I mean, you saw that they were going to have potential. 3 or 4 years later, they beat Southern in the Heritage Bowl.
Yep.
But no, that wasn't good enough. Because you know why? Because you like people like Betsy DeVos.
Wow.
Because you try to stop your kids in the College of Business from wearing dreads. So you know what happened? Whatever happens to y'all at Morgan State, Morgan's gonna beat the brakes off of y'all, run y'all up and down the field. They're gonna stop y'all on with their defense. They're gonna beat the hell out of y'all and send y'all back down the road to go 3-8 in whatever conference y'all play in.
You got 2 more games, Reggie.
That's just the way I see it. These are the opinions of Reggie Flood. They are not the opinions necessarily of HBCU Sports.
Hey, brother, you don't need no disclaimer. We keep it real here. It's
I'm
all
just
good.
saying. I'm
I
just
hear you.
saying. I just
Hey.
want to make sure keeping it real don't go wrong for you. You know, I'm just saying.
it ain't.
No,
No. We good. Believe me, we real good.
Saying,
The amount of rants that have happened on HBCU Sports Live, I don't think we have enough quarters to.
Hey, Flood, you got 2 more games. You got 2 more games to go to pick.
All right, I'm gonna move it along. Texas Southern and Prairie View. Prairie View's banned. Get your damn line straight. Otherwise, this should be a walkover game for Prairie View because Texas Southern's pretty much gonna suck. North Carolina Central, Alabama State. The game of the week for me. Hey, my man Trey Oliver. Hey, that's my guy. But quarterback, offense, gonna be a struggle for them. Alabama State is the more complete team. Alabama State wins that game. I'm calling it here. Alabama State beats North Carolina Central.
Oh man.
And Eddie Robb Jr., no relation, will get his first big victory.
My man. Kendrick Marshall.
How do I follow all that stuff? Well, I'm gonna pick Howard because I don't like the Big Ten anymore because it's from California to New York now. It's
really
no longer regional. JSU, of course, against Louisiana Monroe. I got Wake Forest because North Carolina A&T can't score. Arkansas playing Buffalo, Arkansas. One of my good friends goes to Arkansas, but I'm picking Arkansas anyway. Alcorn State versus UAB. I don't like Trent Dilfer either. He rode the coattails of the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense, and he's going to ride the coattails of playing against Alcorn State to a win this year. So he got the win on that one. South Carolina State, Florida A&M. I don't know, man. Florida A&M wants to have adversity. They may get a lot of adversity, and brag, but I think they pull it out though. Hampton versus Morgan State. Morgan State all day. Go Baltimore. Texas Southern versus Prairie View. Bo McDowell better win this game, man. He better not let his friendship get in the way of W's. So I got Prairie View in this one. In the game of the day, NC Central versus Alabama State. I just don't trust. I mean, I can't say that. I don't trust either quarterback right now. But the better coach is with North Carolina Central. So in that regard, I'm gonna go with the Eagles in that one.
Okay. All right. So did everybody pick?
Yeah, everybody picked.
Everybody picked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna tell you one thing. I want people to do when they make their picks, and what I want them to do is pick HBCU Sports and make sure you hit the like button and make sure that you donate to HBCU Sports and join. $4.99 starts out. Join HBCU Sports. Make sure you do that. All right, all of those things.
Appreciate you, Flood. All right, guys. Kendrick, do we need to tell a story now? Are we done?
Yeah, we go ahead and check.
Are we picking Division Twos or not?
Oh yeah. We do that. We gotta do that.
See how y'all treat the Division Two. See, go on, Jared. I got your back. Tell them about themselves, man. I got your back, bro. Go on and tell them about themselves. They just want to skip over the Division Two.
My bad.
They don't play football on Saturdays or Thursdays or whenever they play.
All right.
I'll just
I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna make my pick. I'm gonna go with Kentucky State over Virginia Union. I'm gonna go with Edward Waters over Morehouse. I'm gonna go with Winston-Salem State over Bluefield State. I'm gonna go with Benedict over Virginia State, and I'm gonna go with Johnson C. Smith over Tuskegee. All
right, Jared, go ahead.
Virginia Union beats Kentucky State. Edward Waters beats Morehouse. Winston-Salem State beats Bluefield State. Virginia State beats Benedict. Tuskegee beats Johnson C. Smith. And just to be extra, I'll say Fort Valley State beats Clark Atlanta.
And that's on who?
Chris, you go ahead.
Yeah, as long as I ain't got to follow Flood, I'm good. I'll take Virginia Union. Edward Waters over Morehouse. Sorry, Terrence Mathis. This ain't the Dirty Bird era Falcons, bro. You got some work to do. Winston-Salem State over Bluefield. I like Virginia State over Benedict, and I will take Tuskegee over Johnson C. Smith.
Okay, let me go before Reggie go this time. I got Virginia Union over Kentucky State. I got Morehouse over Edward Waters. I got WSSU over Bluefield State because one of their players said they're going to win by 60 points this weekend. I got to see that happen.
Wow.
I got Virginia State over Benedict, and I got the school right in my hometown of Charlotte, Johnson C. Smith over Tuskegee. Now, Reggie, go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm telling you, I'm picking the first game. I'm just going with Kentucky State because they are the thoroughbreds, and my homeboy coaches them. I just like that nickname, the thoroughbreds, so I'm going with Kentucky State. I'm rolling with the thoroughbreds. Morehouse y'all can call Edward Moses, J.D. Washington, Doug Williams, Samuel L. Jackson, y'all, the King family, whoever y'all need to call.
Spike Lee. Spike Lee.
Spike Lee and them, to make a movie about it. Because y'all about to get the brakes beat off of y'all.
Oh, man.
In the Winston-Salem Bluefield game, do you guys know how bad in my heart I want to pick Bluefield just because they sound like one of them fake teams off a movie? Just because Bluefield State sounds like, you know how they have the teams in the movie, in the comedy movie? Bluefield State. I want to pick them so bad. But
West Canaan High School?
Yeah, West Canaan. How we're playing you know how the loser team in the movie, the underdog team in the movie,
right?
They always an underdog, but then they're playing the big powerhouse Bluefield State. Bluefield State's coming in next week. They're going to be a hell of a ball club. Now, I want to pick Bluefield State just because of that name, but now I got to roll with Winston-Salem on that one. Benedict and Virginia State, got to roll with Virginia State in that one. Tuskegee and Johnson C. Smith. Just because, I don't know. I'm just going to say, I'll just roll with Johnson C. Smith. Where are they playing? So they're playing at Johnson C. Smith? Or is that a neutral site game? Anybody
I think
know?
this is a neutral site game.
Okay, well, yeah, Tuskegee's gonna lose. If they got them in that pasture in Tuskegee, boy, Johnson C. Smith might be in trouble. They got them in that Negro League stadium. They got it there. Might be some consequences and repercussions over there, but it's a neutral site game, so I'm gonna go with Johnson C. Smith.
Oh my God, Flood. Oh man.
I'm crying real tears, man. Jesus Christ.
These were just for predictions. Nobody did anything. Nobody did anything.
Kendrick Marshall.
Uh-oh.
Did you pick
I already picked.
Okay, so we done?
Yeah, we done.
All right. So, as is the case, we try to keep it light here on this show, especially on Wednesday nights. And so while we had the conversation last week about how individuals prefer to eat their steaks, this time we've got a story that we need to tell. Go ahead and pull that up, Kendrick.
Does this involve fisticuffs and nudity?
No.
No.
Okay.
Thank
But it
God,
does
no
involve
nudity.
it does involve a little profanity.
Okay. All right. It was a Waffle House story. I think that probably pretty much goes along with it. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to figure if Kendrick, you might, but I'll set it up. But Phil, you and Jared, feel free to interact, interject if I miss any details. Okay, so as you guys might know, me, Kendrick, and Jared were in Atlanta last week covering the Me Expect Challenge. All right, and as you would expect, the game ended late. And we'd been there for hours. And just so you guys know, because, there are a lot of you people out there who kind of like marvel at us and he's like, oh, it is so great for you guys to be at these games and you get to get all the access and so forth. Not really understanding, man. It's a lot of work involved in covering these games, especially when you have to stay anywhere from an hour to 2 hours past the game just to meet deadlines and to get whatever needs to be done before you actually leave. So anyway, so it was like very late. I'd make maybe 11 o'clock by the time we actually got out of the stadium, if not later.
Well,
it was more like 1 o'clock.
I gotta interject real quick.
Okay.
I gotta talk about how it was a maze trying to get out of the stadium because we were in the media room. We're in the media room after the press conference. We leave, we go on the elevator because we think we got to go up the elevator to get out. We go up the elevator. We get off the elevator, don't see where the exit is. So we go back down. We go down, 2 flights of stairs. We come out this door and we see we are exactly where we started. So
nobody knew where to go.
Nobody knew where to go. It was us and a bunch of other media members that's walking around trying to figure out where we got to go to get out. So we finally we go back on the elevator. We find somebody that actually works there.
Right.
Actually find a way to leave and get out. And then we're outside trying to think, where can we go to eat this late at night other than Waffle House? We couldn't find anywhere other than Waffle House, that isn't a strip club.
And Ken suggested Magic City twice. Let's go there. I'm like,
I don't see the problem. I heard
I was just trying to provide a variety of options. There weren't that many. I looked up on the app.
They have very good.
You looked up late.
I looked up. I said restaurants open now, and the 2 options that popped up.
The first one was Magic City.
Yes, and I just said, hey, and
like
okay,
said,
nope.
I've heard they have very good wings, and the shoe models are excellent.
Okay, so nobody wanted to do Magic City. I understood. So I said, okay, you want to do Waffle House? We went to Waffle House. All right, so we look for the nearest Waffle House is downtown. Not that was a problem, but we went there and immediately came to the conclusion, okay, this is going to be problematic because we were downtown. There's a bunch of kids outside because it was literally right there on Georgia State's campus. And we're saying, you know what? Chances are wherever we park is either going to be kind of far out or we're going to have to pay for parking. And so considering that we had to drop Jared off, we said, you know what? Let's just go and we'll go to a Waffle House nearby where Jared is staying because they're all over the place. And that's exactly what we did. So we ended up going to the Waffle House in Dunwoody. And so once we get there, it wasn't busy yet. And we immediately got in, we found a table. The person who served us was very nice, very lovely, great attitude, no problems. And we proceeded to make our order. I got what I ordered, Kendrick got what he ordered, and Jared got what he ordered. So I personally hadn't realized that it had progressively gotten busy. And so as the waitress was coming and she, constantly brought things back and forth, she provided water and got some things. And so what became clear is that for whatever reason, she started bringing out extra items to the table that we hadn't really ordered. And so, there was like some chicken sausage, and I was like, okay, I had some chicken sausage, but there was another thing of chicken sausage. I said, is it better? She was like, no, you got. So we were like, okay, did we order any of this stuff? And so she was like, no, that's okay. That's for you. So Kendrick had an order, and apparently I think there was a problem with his order. So Kendrick said he wanted grits, but instead they brought him some hash browns. And so the lady,
Yes, that happened.
he made it clear that he didn't get his grits. So the lady brought his grits, big bowl of grits too, and hot, nice and hot. So here we are complimenting this lady about how her service was. Meanwhile, and I'm sure Kendrick is going to probably exaggerate this.
No, don't forget, she forgot your waffles too.
That's what I'm saying. So here we are. So
But
she
she brought
brings
you
out
jelly,
huh?
He brought you jelly instead of waffles.
Well, hold on. So she brings out everything, and my order included waffles. So I'm like, okay, I got my eggs, I got everything else, everything is fine. So I looked, I was like, excuse me, ma'am. I said, I ordered some waffles. Can I get my waffles? And she was like, oh, they're making the waffles right now. No problem. Okay. So she goes on and she was just kind of doing whatever she was. And then as I was eating, the waffles hadn't come out yet. She passes by again. And I said, excuse me. Can I get maybe another one or two more extra jellies? And she said, okay, I'll get you the jellies. So she goes on. Meanwhile, she gets the jellies and she brings me the jellies and she's still doing her things. I still hadn't gotten the waffles yet. So she passes by again. And I said, ma'am, do you get the waffles? They're going to get you the waffles. Okay. So lo and behold, she finally brings out the waffles. And I'm not exactly sure what it was that I needed. I don't know if I asked for water or whatever. And then finally she goes, where are you guys from? You guys aren't from here, are you? And I'm thinking, well, no, he's from North Carolina, he's from Maryland, and I'm from Texas. Yeah, because you guys aren't here. You guys aren't from here. You guys can't appreciate the fact that we just trying to do something for you and we give you food that you don't have to pay for and you're still asking questions. And I'm just like, where's this come from? And she goes, you up here, what? I bring you grits. And then she talks about something. And I swear to you, before this had happened, Jared had already talked about, oh man, I love her spirit. She is such a great spirit. She has such a great spirit. I'm like, yeah, she's doing it. And then so she turns to me. And she said, and you.
Always you, Ken Rashad. It's always you.
And she goes, here it is. And you see how busy it is. And you up here asking me for jelly. And then you up here. And I'm not going to use the language. And, I'm going to say it. So y'all forgive me. I'm going to use the language that she used. And you up here fucking with me. And I'm like,
I think it's important to note.
I'm like, what? You see how busy it is, and you just here and you fucking with me. And I'm thinking,
Atlanta is not a real place. I told y'all that it's not.
I think it's important to note that when she brought Ken's waffles, she brought another plate of waffles, and we were all looking. Well, not we were all, because she wasn't giving them to me, but Ken looked at Kendrick and was like, "Did you order waffles?" And Kendrick was like, no, because Kendrick had already been eating this food, was already full. So we were looking at her like, we didn't order these. And that's when she erupted and said that Ken was
effing with me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, we were just complimenting you on just how great a job you were doing. And I said, and so for whatever reason, I said, something said to me, Ken, do not show your ass. Don't show your ass. I said, you know what? I wasn't trying to give you that impression. We were just talking about how great you were. And I said, so if I gave you the impression that I was effing with you, I didn't mean no disrespect. I'm literally like a punk roll here. I'm just like, she offends me, but I'm just like, okay, I got it. And then she leaves. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. And I'm like, no, but I'm thinking to myself, but it ain't all good. You just accused me of fucking with you. So, lo and behold, Kendrick got, Ken, you paying for this, and you need to make sure you leave her a good tip. I'm just like, what?
She sounded like somebody that would have called her people for you if you had gotten out of line, Ken.
Man.
I'm glad she did. She sounded like she'd have called her people for you. Her people would have been there. Atlanta is not a real place, and I guarantee you, her people would have been there waiting on y'all.
Man, look, I when I realized, I'm like, okay, I said, you know what? This ain't the time and this ain't the place. Let's just go ahead and pay the check and go. Because effing with this chick was the one thing that I wasn't trying to do, and that's exactly what happened.
I mean, I love her, man. She gave me free orange juice and a free waffle.
Yeah,
This lady, whoever you are, like
she
I
gave you a
appreciate
waffle
your
too?
service. Yeah, she gave me a waffle too.
that's
And
why
I ate it.
that's why she went off on y'all, because you were looking confused, like where this extra waffle came from.
I look confused, but I ate it though, and thanked her for it. Yeah.
I loved it, that lady. I didn't love her. I loved it, that lady.
But I just don't understand. And then she goes, well, I guess it was obvious. She's like, y'all not from here, huh? I was like, damn, is that obvious? So that's the story, man.
Y'all were asking for proper service in the things that you actually ordered.
Man, I swear to you, I was trying. I thought I was polite, and I mean, do it. It wasn't like we were in a rush, but I'm like, but damn, I mean, when am I gonna get my waffle?
To be fair,
From the Waffle House. From the Waffle House.
Exactly. Yeah, to be fair, Ken wasn't wrong, but I love her so much. I'm taking her side.
Team Waffle House waitress.
Team Waffle House waitress.
Oh my
that's
God,
hilarious.
man. And for the record, that is the actual Waffle House that we visited. That is the actual Waffle House. So
And
hilarious.
also, just to speak on to help prop her up, it was her and one other woman that was serving people, that was giving out food, and it was like, what, 3 cooks in there? So it wasn't a lot of people there that was in the kitchen helping, and there was a lot of people in that Waffle House.
yeah, but by the time we left, yeah, it was.
By the time we left, it was a lot.
Yeah. But still, man, I mean that. So yeah, that's how they roll in Atlanta at the Waffle House.
Yeah, that sounds like Atlanta.
Man, would you say, Flood? Atlanta's not a real place?
It's not a real place. It's not a real place at all. That is a very par for the course Atlanta story.
Oh, well,
That is
yeah,
hilarious.
it probably could have gotten worse, but so anyway. Gentlemen, it's been real. Any final thoughts before we call it a show?
Oh man, I ain't laughed this much in a long time, man. that story delivered. Like Jared and Kendrick was like, "Nah, we gonna wait till Wednesday to tell the story." So I've been waiting on this since Monday night, and this story did not disappoint. So shouts out to the Waffle House waitress in Dunwoody. You did your big one, man.
All right, are we done?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Become a level 1, level 2, or level 3 member. Join and become a HBCU Sports YouTube channel member. And if you haven't done so, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. He is Jared Hoffman. He is Kendrick Marshall. He is Chris Stevens. And he is the man, Reggie Flood. I'm Ken Rashad. Thank you for taking the time to join us and to hear us spit what we spit. And we will see you next time. God bless you and see you next time.